The Grand Hyatt Ballroom was a symphony of fake gold and expensive perfumes. It was the SR4 world Marcus loved, a place where image mattered more than truth. Marcus stood on the podium, adjusted his $3,000 silk tie, and flashed a smile that had been practiced in front of a mirror for years. He held the Innovator of the Year trophy high. To the crowd, it was a symbol of genius. To Elena, standing in the dim light near the service entrance, it was a stolen monument built on her sweat and late-night chemical burns. She looked down at her hands. Her fingernails were stained with reagent residue. Her lab coat was clean, but it was thin, a cheap shield against the cold air conditioning of a world she wasn't supposed to belong to. Marcus began his speech. He talked about vision and sacrifice. He never mentioned the woman who had actually cracked the molecular code for the serum. And of course, Marcus said, his voice dripping with a calculated, humble warmth, we must thank the little people. He pointed directly at Elena. The spotlight swung toward her like a physical blow. Elena squinted against the glare. Our temp technician, Elena. She's the one who keeps the floors clean and the test tubes organized. It's important to give these underprivileged workers a sense of purpose, don't you think? The crowd chuckled. It was a polite, cruel sound. Elena felt the wound open wide. This wasn't just a lack of credit. It was a deliberate erasure of her humanity. Marcus wasn't just taking her work. He was turning her into a charity case. He stepped down from the stage and walked toward her, the smell of his overpriced sandalwood cologne hitting her like a wave of nausea. He leaned in close, his mouth near her ear so only she could hear. Don't make that face, Elena. You should be grateful I even let you in the building. Remember, your mother's experimental treatment is tied to your employment contract. One wrong word, one look of defiance, and she's out on the street by midnight. His voice was a poisonous whisper. He reached out and patted her cheek, a patronizing gesture that made her skin crawl. Now, go to the back and fetch more champagne. You look out of place among the adults. He laughed, a sharp, jagged sound, and turned back to a group of investors. He was a master of gaslighting. He made her feel small, lucky, and utterly trapped. Elena gripped the strap of her bag. Inside was the trigger, the evidence of the patent withdrawal. But the weight of his threat felt like lead in her veins. Then, the heavy oak doors at the far end of the ballroom didn't just open, they were slammed back against the marble walls. The sound was like a gunshot. The music died instantly. A man walked in, and the air temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. This was Gabriel Vance. He didn't wear a tie. His black shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, revealing a glimpse of the predator underneath the suit. He didn't look like a CEO. He looked like the man who bought CEOs for breakfast. His presence was aggressive. He didn't look at the stage or the trophy. His eyes, dark and cold as a winter ocean, locked onto Elena. Gabriel ignored the murmurs of the crowd. He walked straight through the center of the ballroom. People stepped aside instinctively. He didn't ask for a path, he commanded it. He stopped 3 inches from Elena. The contrast was staggering. Elena was small, dressed in her faded lab gear, and Marcus was preening in his tuxedo. But Gabriel was a force of nature. He smelled of cold rain, expensive leather, and a hint of dark chocolate. It was a scent that demanded submission. He didn't say a word to her at first. He simply reached out and took the tray of champagne glasses from her hands. He didn't hand it to a waiter. He let it drop. The sound of shattering crystal echoed through the silent room. The Queen doesn't serve, Gabriel said. His voice was a low, resonant growl that seemed to vibrate through the very floor Elena stood on. He reached out and gripped the lapel of her cheap lab coat. He didn't pull her, but he claimed her space. His thumb grazed the pulse point at her neck. She could feel his body heat. It was intense, a medicine against the icy humiliation Marcus had poured on her. He looked at her with a gaze that was both protective and terrifyingly possessive. Why are you standing in the dark, Elena? The light belongs to you. I'm here to make sure everyone sees that. He turned his head slowly toward Marcus. The look in his eyes wasn't anger. It was the look a hawk gives a mouse right before the talons close. The first status flip had begun. Marcus's smile began to flicker like a dying bulb. Marcus shook his head. He tried to laugh, but the sound was thin and brittle. He looked at the shattered glass on the floor. Then he looked at Gabriel. You think you can just walk in here and ruin a billion-dollar launch? Marcus shouted. He turned to the crowd, his hands spread wide. This man is a corporate vulture. And this woman, she is a liar. I have been paying for her mother's heart treatments for 2 years. I am a benefactor. She is an ungrateful ghost. Marcus stepped closer to Elena, ignoring Gabriel's shadow. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a legal notice. If you don't apologize to these investors right now, I will call the hospital. I will end the policy. Your mother will be in the hallway of a public clinic within the hour. Is that what you want, Elena? To kill your own mother for a moment of ego? The wound was deep and jagged. The investors began to murmur. They liked a hero, but they hated a daughter who seemed cold. Elena felt her heart tighten. She could almost see her mother's pale face in the sterile hospital bed. The gaslighting was working. Marcus's pseudo-sophistication returned for a second. He adjusted his cufflink. He looked smug. He thought he had won. He thought Elena was still the little lab girl he could crush under his heel. Gabriel didn't wait for Elena to answer. He didn't let the silence last for more than a second. He took a step forward. His shoulder brushed against Elena's, and the heat of his body was like a shield. He leaned down, his lips brushing against the shell of her ear. The sound of his voice was a low, heavy vibration that rattled Elena's bones. It was the sound of absolute authority. "Don't listen to the insect," Gabriel whispered. His breath was warm, smelling of dark coffee and power. Gabriel turned to Marcus. He didn't pull a gun or a knife. He pulled a black titanium credit card and a deed. "I don't care about your insurance policy, Marcus," Gabriel said. His voice carried to every corner of the ballroom. "Insurance is for people who worry about costs. I don't worry about costs. I bought St. Jude's Hospital at 6 p.m. tonight. The entire facility. The staff, the equipment, and every single bed. Your mother isn't an insurance liability anymore, Elena. She is a guest in my house, and her bill has been paid in full for the next 50 years. The silence that followed was heavy. The medicine was a 10 out of 10. Marcus's face went from pale to a sickly, mottled green. He looked like a man who had just realized he was playing chess against a god. The status flipped so fast, Marcus stumbled back. His expensive handmade shoes slipped on a piece of broken champagne glass. He didn't look like a genius founder anymore. He looked like a panicked accountant caught in a lie. Then came the responsibility target. A man in a sharp gray suit stepped out from behind Gabriel. This was Arthur, the lead investigator from the National Patent Bureau. He didn't smile. He held a tablet that glowed with cold blue light. "Mr. Vance," Arthur said, his voice as dry as a desert. "We received the original lab logs from Elena's private server 2 hours ago. We compared them to the filings you submitted to the FDA. The chemical ratios are a perfect match. But there is one problem. Elena's logs were time-stamped 3 years before your company even existed." Arthur tapped the screen. The giant projector behind Marcus changed. It showed a side-by-side comparison of the data. Every time Marcus claimed a breakthrough, the log showed Elena fixing a catastrophic failure in the production line. The crowd gasped. The investors who were just cheering for Marcus now looked at him with disgust. Marcus began to sweat. The pseudo-sophistication was melting away like cheap wax. A drop of sweat ran down his nose and landed on his silk tie. He looked dirty. He looked small. "This is a fraud," Arthur continued. "You didn't develop the serum. You stole a biological prototype and performed illegal financing based on stolen intellectual property. I have a court order here to halt all sales, and a public prosecutor is waiting in the lobby." Marcus looked at the crowd. He looked at the cameras. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He reached out to grab the podium for support, but Gabriel moved faster. Gabriel didn't hit him. He simply leaned in and put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. It was a heavy, aggressive grip. Gabriel squeezed just enough to make Marcus wince. Gabriel smelled the fear on Marcus, the scent of cheap cologne and desperate sweat. "The show is over, Marcus," Gabriel said. His voice was a death sentence. Gabriel looked at Elena. He didn't ask her permission. He reached out and slid his arm around her waist. It was a possessive, invasive touch. He was marking her in front of the world. He pulled her flush against his side, his hand firm on her hip. He wanted every camera in the room to see who she belonged to. "Tell him, Elena," Gabriel commanded. "Tell him what happens to the man who steals from you." Elena looked Marcus in the eyes. For the first time in 5 years, she wasn't afraid. She saw the trash in a tuxedo for exactly what he was. "The patent isn't just withdrawn, Marcus," Elena said. Her voice was steady. "I've sold the exclusive rights to the Vantex Group. You don't just lose the company. You owe $300 million in backdated licensing fees. And Gabriel doesn't like to wait for his money." Marcus's eyes went wide. He began to hyperventilate. The S-Class facade was gone. He looked at his shaking hands. He looked at the investors who were already walking away. He was a ghost in his own ballroom. Marcus looked at the giant screen. He saw the data. He saw his life's work, or rather his life's theft, being dissected in front of the world's most powerful people. His eyes turned red. He wasn't a CEO anymore. He was a cornered animal. He looked at the server rack, sitting on the side of the stage. He knew that the original encrypted logs were still in there. If he could destroy the hardware, maybe he could delay the inevitable. He screamed like a madman. He grabbed a heavy metal fire extinguisher from the wall. He lunged toward the electronics. "If I go down, you go down with me," Marcus yelled. He swung the heavy tank, but he was clumsy. His expensive handmade shoes slipped on a patch of spilled reagent. He fell. His knees hit the hard marble floor with a sickening crack. The pseudo-sophistication was gone. His face was pressed against the cold floor. He was covered in the very chemical waste he used to force Elena to clean. He looked dirty. He looked like the trash he had always been underneath the tuxedo. Gabriel didn't even move. He didn't blink. He just snapped his fingers. Two of his personal security guards stepped out of the shadows. They moved like shadows. They caught Marcus's arms mid-swing. The fire extinguisher hit the carpet with a dull thud. Marcus was pinned against the wall. Gabriel walked toward him slowly. The sound of Gabriel's leather boots on the marble floor was like a countdown. Each step was heavy. Each step was a heartbeat. Gabriel stopped inches from Marcus. "You think this is about a lab, Marcus," Gabriel said. His voice was a low, dangerous vibration. It wasn't just a sound. Elena could feel it in her own chest. It was the sound of a predator playing with its food. Gabriel didn't look at the server. He looked at Marcus's terrified face. "I don't care about the hardware. I already have the cloud backups. I bought them yesterday, along with something else." Gabriel pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was a list of Marcus's personal liabilities. The $5 million penthouse, the Ferrari, the offshore accounts in the Caymans. Gabriel told the room that he had bought every single one of Marcus's debts. Every cent Marcus owed to the banks now belonged to Vantex Group. Gabriel said he was calling in the loans. Right now. He said Marcus had 60 seconds to pay $300 million, or the sheriff would begin the seizure of his very clothes. Marcus's face went gray. His eyes were vacant. This was the identity void. He realized he owned nothing. He was nothing but a shell in a borrowed suit. Elena walked over to the control panel. She didn't look at Marcus. She looked at the giant screen. She showed the investors the real brain of the company. She explained the chemical reaction that Marcus never understood. She showed how she had built a kill switch into the patent. Without her daily manual adjustment, the serum would turn into a toxic sludge within 48 hours. The investors gasped. They realized they hadn't invested in a genius. They had invested in a fraud who couldn't even balance a test tube. Elena told Marcus that he was just a shell, a beautiful, empty box. She was the content, she was the power. The wound of 5 years of slavery was closing. The cure was the absolute destruction of Marcus's ego. Elena felt a surge of adrenaline. Gabriel moved back to her side. He reached out and placed his hand on the back of her neck. His thumb brushed the sensitive skin just below her ear. It was a possessive, aggressive gesture. He was telling the world she was under his protection. His touch was hot. It was a physical reminder of her new reality. Gabriel's eyes were like ice as he looked at the crowd. Vantex Group is launching a new biotech firm tonight, Gabriel announced. Elena is the CEO. She is the majority shareholder. And for those of you who stood by and watched Marcus abuse her, don't expect an invitation to invest. He turned his head and looked at the guards. "Get this garbage out of my sight, and take his shoes. They were bought with my money." Marcus was dragged away, screaming. He looked at Elena, trying to find a spark of the soft girl he used to manipulate. He tried to cry. He tried to beg. But Elena only saw a pathetic stranger. Gabriel leaned down. His lips were near her ear. She could hear his steady, rhythmic breathing. It was a sound that promised security and danger all at once. He whispered that the cleansing was almost over. He asked her if she was ready for the final strike. The sugar was sweet. The revenge was absolute. The blue and red police lights flickered against the cold marble walls. They sliced through the expensive shadows of the ballroom. Marcus was in handcuffs now. The steel was cold and unyielding. He looked at Elena. He tried to make his eyes water. He used his victim voice, the one he used whenever he messed up a batch in the lab. He called her name softly. He reminded her of their first date. He talked about the late nights they spent sharing a single cup of coffee. He was trying to plant a seed of guilt. He was trying to open one last wound. He thought he could still manipulate her heart. He thought Elena was still the girl who would sacrifice herself for his smile. Gabriel didn't let the words land. He stepped between them. He didn't say a word. He just placed his hand over Elena's ears for a brief, heavy second. His palms were warm. They smelled of cedar and absolute power. It was a physical wall. He was protecting her from the poison of Marcus's voice. Gabriel looked down at Marcus. His eyes were like two black holes. "She doesn't hear ghosts," Gabriel said. His voice was a low, terrifying rumble. Gabriel pulled a final document from his inner pocket. He held it in front of Marcus's face. "You love your name, don't you, Marcus? You put it on every bottle. You put it on every billboard." Gabriel's smile was a razor blade. "As of 4 o'clock today, I purchased the trademark to your name. All variations, all uses, in the biotech sector and beyond. You signed the personal guarantee when you took my bridge loan." Gabriel leaned in, his shadow swallowing Marcus whole. "From this moment on, you are legally forbidden from using the name Marcus Vance for any public or professional purpose. You are a John Doe. You are a nobody. You have no brand. You have no history. You are being deleted." Marcus froze. His mouth hung open. He looked like a statue of a beggar. This was the identity void. He wasn't just losing his money. He was losing his soul. He looked at the guards. He tried to scream his own name, but the words felt like ash in his throat. The status flip was absolute. He was a non-person. "Take him out," Gabriel commanded. The guards grabbed Marcus by his silk lapels. They didn't let him walk. They dragged him. Marcus's expensive, stolen shoes were left behind in a puddle of chemical waste and broken glass. He was dragged through the mud of the service entrance. He was being treated like the trash he had always been. The investors watched in silence. No one stepped forward. No one spoke his name. He was already gone. Elena walked to the center of the stage. She looked at the giant digital billboard across the street. The crew Gabriel hired was already moving. They were tearing down the giant banners of Marcus's face. They were installing new ones. In massive, bold letters, her name was glowing against the night sky. Elena Biotech. It was clean. It was powerful. The air in the room felt lighter. The cleansing was done. Gabriel walked up behind her. He didn't wait for her to turn around. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. He pulled her back against his solid, warm chest. The heat of his body was an aggressive comfort. He tucked his chin into the curve of her shoulder. He smelled of rain and victory. His touch was possessive. He was marking his territory. He whispered into her ear, his voice a dark, rich sound that made her skin tingle. He told her the empire was hers. He said he had destroyed the trash, and now he was going to build her a throne. Elena leaned her head back against him. She felt the power of his presence. She felt the weight of her own new authority. She didn't look back at the door where Marcus had been dragged away. She didn't think about the past. She looked at her name on the horizon. The revenge was sweet. The sugar was 10 out of 10. The world was hers, and the man holding her was the only one allowed to share it.
Seeing Marcus turn into a literal John Doe after being so obsessed with seeing his name on every bottle is the kind of total social erasure that keeps me sleeping like a baby. But let's be real for a second, is Gabriel's level of aggressive protection actually romantic? Or did Elena just trade her old cage for a much more expensive, gold-plated one? I actually debated letting Marcus keep his shoes in the original draft, but honestly, making him walk barefoot through his own chemical waste felt like the only way to truly sanitize the story.